Quest 2 controller grips. If you've been with me a while, you know that the Kiwi top version grips, I absolutely love. They hang onto your hands really nice. They make the controller a little girthier, a little longer, and just more comfortable in your hands. It's been the only option like this for a while, but of course someone decided to imitate them and make something that looks really similar for a lot cheaper. Rude. Unacceptable! Let's open this up. Nope. I will never win with that. Gotta have that small sharp unboxing knife. Safety first. It says more suitable for big hands to wear.
Why are you the way that you are?
I got these for 15 bucks on Amazon, although they look like they're up to 20 today. Whew, this is awfully copy-ish. Even comes with your little battery puller tab replacements. I don't actually use them, but on the Kiwi grips, they have these tabs that slip behind your battery, so it makes it really easy to pull on that tab and it pulls your battery out through this battery door. So it looks like these are pretty close. Although they did do one thing, obviously, to make them just different enough. They added a protective tracking ring up here that has holes for your infrared lights, little nubbies to help give you a little thicker protection. And the original Kiwis also they came with a separate ring that you could put on. I don't use it because it just doesn't seem necessary to me. First thing, they feel a little cheaper. They don't have the pull-through tab like these do to tighten it down, which I like because it's really easy to adjust them for people. But some people say they don't love that because in Beat Saber, they'll feel it whacking them in the hand. Maybe for some people, that's actually an improvement with this. With the battery door, I'm not in love with the idea of how they did it. So instead of having this nice opening silicone that just opens up and pushes back in, they've made a little physical door inside of here. Might be a little easier to mess with when it's actually on the controller, but just to show you, like a little actual battery door comes off, your plastic tab would be behind your battery, and then you pull it to take your battery off. So let me install these on the set of controllers real quick, and then we'll start looking at them closer. Pretty simple install. We're gonna take the battery door off. I'm gonna pull the wrist strap out, take their original battery out. I always struggle to get these batteries out. So that's one nice thing about these, is that it makes it a little easier to remove your battery, although you're pretty rarely taking your battery out. Just grab it. There we go. And then the whole controller with no battery door should just slip in, and this replaces your battery door. So you can even see that shape is just like your battery door there, and then that clicks into place. Now with this one, unlike the Kiwi, of course, you're just gonna pull this up and over. I never really trust these things that have the IR holes. Some people say they're totally fine, but I always just feel like, I don't know, I just don't trust them for some reason. I can undo this if it gives me a little bit more access to the battery door. Oh, I lost my tab somewhere in the install. F. Huh. Unlike the Kiwi ones, it's really easy to slip the whole thing off here. The Kiwi ones are like attached. So let's say you just want a longer controller, but you don't want all those silicone and wrist grips. You could just rock this thing like this and have an extra long controller. So this needs to go behind your battery. Your battery is then reinstalled so that this tab in the future, you can just pull your battery out by pulling on this tab. And ordinarily you'd still have your silicone on. You probably wouldn't have removed this, but at least it helped us, I guess. And now we're about ready to rock. Yes, of course, you should continue to use wrist straps, although I never do, because once you have this, you have it's very unlikely you're gonna end up throwing that controller even if you let go. But this does include these that you could install here and then have on your wrists. I'm not gonna bother with that. You can definitely tell they copied the Kiwi heavily. Kiwi feels a lot better. There's a texture to the silicone on the Kiwi that feels really nice in hand. This buckle snap here is really solid, although some people complain, you can even see from there, where two of the IR lights are, the Kiwi does block them technically. They're right in there, and that's right where these are. Pretty rare in any game that it's relying on those with the Quest 2, because I mean, if you have this on your hand and you're turning your hand like this, you're turning your hand like this, it doesn't really need those. I mean, unless you're trying to turn it back like this or like this, it's usually fine. But for some people who play like table tennis and want to be able to turn this any which way, yes, that could possibly affect your tracking, having those two blocked. I've never seen it happen, but I don't play a lot of games where I'm whipping the controller all around. It's usually on my hand. The first thing I don't love about these is because they made them all silicone and they just didn't make the same grip points that the Kiwi has, it's not holding through here. You can pretty easily kind of start to mess with the silicone. It pulls right there, you can see that. And it just feels like it's very easy to dishevel the silicone. Maybe it'll end up back in its spot on its own. But you're sacrificing a lot, but it's half the cost. What do you expect? There's just some quality about them that feels very cheap. One of the issues I think is that because this is a plastic door right here, and it doesn't have this nice consistent silicone there. You notice that in the palm of your hand, it just feels like there's this slippery spot right in the middle that doesn't grip as well as everything else. And when you squeeze them, you really feel them flex out here. But even without squeezing them, I mean, if you tighten the strap down all the time, it's kind of relying on this. So I gotta be honest, I don't think that's gonna hold up super well over time. I feel like this constant pulling here, especially if you're someone that's playing intense Beat Saber and you really wanna like tighten this thing really tight, you're always gonna be creating a gap right here that's constantly pulling on that silicone. I just feel like you're gonna wear it out. Let me go play some games for a bit and get back to you with some final thoughts on these. They are a copy of the Kiwi. You can tell pretty clearly looking at them. I mean, they probably made a mold of the Kiwi, used the same mold, and then changed just enough to be safe to sell them. They're a cheap copy, they feel cheap. I don't like the way they feel, but the biggest problem when you're using them, the Kiwis come up through here, latch onto the front tightly, and so whether you're playing Gorilla Tag, Beat Saber, whatever you're doing, you're swinging your hands around, you never have to worry that this thing is slowly slipping off. And you might be someone that iron grips that controller, so it's not a problem, but if you're someone that kind of, likes to keep your hand a little more loose and rely on that hand strap, you can do that in the Kiwi. With this, the thing I noticed immediately, you start flicking this much and your controller starts to slip out around the end here. You see how that's already coming up after just a few swings? You would have to learn to really hang on to the controller tight still, which does fatigue your hands. This thing starts to slowly work its way down, and now you are blocking infrared light. What I found was as I was playing, whether it was Gorilla Tag or Beat Saber, I'd play a little bit and I kept having to reach and grab and pull these back and like make sure they were right, because I kept noticing something felt weird because it would get kind of down and I'd be like, oh, something doesn't feel right, it's interacting with my grip button, and I'd have to reach over and kind of remold it back up. So if they had just made a strap that kept this thing tight right here like the Kiwi has, this would probably be a cheaper imitation that would work just as well, but that one thing kills it for me. So with that issue, absolutely not recommending these at all, even if you find them for as cheap as 15 bucks. I don't like the way you can't trust the grips, because when you can't see them, that's a whole nother story. You're playing a game and you can't see what's happening to them, and all of a sudden you notice your grip button's stuck or your tracking feels off and you don't know why. You gotta pull up your headset. It's just disrupting your VR experience. I've used these for a long time. This is actually my second set. I've used these for a long time and they are fantastic. These are a cheap imitation, and honestly, I wouldn't even keep them. Garbage. What do you think out there? Have you seen that we're starting to see a few more of these Kiwi imitators? Are you interested in any of the other sets out there? I'd love to know in the comment section down below, but I want to say thank you so much for coming out and being here with me today, and I'll see you in another reality.